we'll cover a wide range of topics today. To kick things off, we'll talk about how image sensors are becoming more and more important in the context of IoT, in the context of smart homes and buildings, and what sort of technical challenges are being imposed on image sensors and how they are being solved is something we'll cover during the Vision IoT section. We will talk about smart home hubs and gateways. This is courtesy of our newest acquisition, Quantenna Communication Systems, which has industry's leading performance Wi-Fi solutions. Connected lighting is an area that is exploding. A lot of high growth, a lot of activity, a lot of players in this space, and lighting is getting transformed into a foundational platform. We'll cover that. One of our partners, Bosch SensorTech, is going to give us a refresher on various sensors they make, all the sensors that are applicable to the smart homes and building areas, including gas sensors, inertial sensors, and the like. In the afternoon session, we have some interesting topics to talk about. If we believe in this whole promise of trillions of sensors and trillions of sensing nodes as far as IoT is concerned, energy harvesting has to play a key role in that. It's just unimaginable to have all these battery-powered devices. We'll talk about some of the interesting advances within that area and what we are doing and give some examples of energy harvesting solutions. Well, audio is becoming more and more important and is getting embedded in a lot of devices. How many here have Alexa or any sort of digital assistant? That's like almost 3/4 of the room. And we'll talk about some of the challenges involved in creating these sort of either local voice recognition systems or cloud-based voice recognition systems. And then we'll wrap everything up by talking about some of the node-to-cloud platforms that ON Semiconductor has to offer so that the development and also time to market gets reduced and you could launch products into the space as quickly as possible. How many here have heard of ON Semi? Like are very familiar with ON Semi? Okay, that's most of you. For those of us who are trying to figure out who ON Semi is, here's a quick refresher. We are headquartered in Phoenix. We're a global company, about $6 billion in revenue, and we are slowly inching up the semiconductor ranks. We are, as I mentioned, we are a global company, so we have worldwide presence, not only technical, manufacturing, and sales offices, but worldwide support as well. Key markets that are important to us, automotive, IoT, power, and industrial. And within this space, some of the key technologies that we offer are connectivity technologies, sensing, image sensors, LiDARs, radars, power solutions, as well as high-performance analog and mixed signal devices. So a lot of the innovation and a lot of products at ON have come over the years, and a lot have also come through acquisitions. If you look at the last three here, the latest one is Quantenna Communication Systems, who's the leader in high-performance Wi-Fi area. So ON has been focused on acquiring and bolstering our connectivity and sensing portfolio. A couple of acquisitions prior to that include the radar division from IBM, as well as the photodiode or the photodiodes that go into LiDARs and time-of-flight sensors from Sensel. So ON has been growing continuously since its IPO back in 2000. We've acquired, made a series of acquisitions, and we're happy to say that most of them turned out well for us, and our footprint within the sensing and connectivity space is expanding. In terms of the offerings, obviously we are a semiconductor vendor, but these days you can't stop at the semiconductor and a firmware offering. You have to go beyond that. And we've made a conscious effort to ensure that our customers can develop their solutions rapidly. We do provide modules, platforms, and end-to-end solutions, including firmware, software, SDKs. We work very closely with our partners and customers and make sure we do everything possible to make the development effort as seamless as possible. And you'll see examples of some of the offerings today during the various sessions. So that was a quick intro about ON itself. Today's topic, of course, is going to be on smart homes and buildings. And I mean, the benefits from why do we need to make things smart, especially the homes and buildings? The benefits can be categorized into three high-level buckets. One's energy savings, which clearly translates into cost as well as resource savings, security and safety, occupants feeling comfortable and safe and secure within those environments. 80% of our lives we spend indoors. It's important to have a sense of security and safety. Last but not least, convenience and comfort. And this is where a lot of automation, voice-based interfaces, gesture-based interfaces, they all come into play. And these are the devices that give the benefits of convenience. Security and safety-wise, applications such as hazard monitoring, cameras, occupancy sensors, motion sensors, gas sensors, proximity sensors, all of these devices that incorporate all these sensors are becoming more and more important and more prevalent within the smart home space. Energy savings, this is the biggest area of investment as well as biggest reason why people are investing in smart homes and buildings. Energy savings refers both to the production of energy, which we won't cover too much today, but also on how do you store, how do you make the building green, what sort of technologies do you employ to reduce the energy footprint of buildings, and thereby translate that into cost savings for the building owners and building occupants. Market-wise, it's a huge growth market. By some accounts, we'll have about 6 billion devices sold in 2023. This is a very high growth market, a CAGR of 20% plus. For those of us who are involved in this industry, it's not a question of if we are going to participate. It's more of a question of how do we participate in this industry, because it's a hyper growth industry. As I mentioned earlier, a key reason again is energy efficiency, and one of the reasons, one of the statistics, it's almost a mind-boggling one, is that 40% of electricity produced is consumed in buildings. So anything we could do to reduce the energy efficient, to make these buildings energy efficient, is going to have a huge impact not only on the building owners and building occupants, but also on the planet as a whole. That's a big driver. Energy efficiency and energy savings is a big driver for a lot of these technologies. Buildings and homes are getting sensor rich. The number of sensors within our homes and buildings has just started increasing exponentially. A few years back, I don't even remember having anything that was sensing any of the parameters other than the traditional ones like your gas sensor, carbon monoxide, and thermostat. But now there are security cameras, window breakage sensors, a whole lot of sensors within homes. And when you take that to the building, there are even more sensing devices, from access control to monitoring of the assets and everything in between. Buildings are extremely sensor rich these days, and that trend continues to grow. One of the things we'll touch upon today is this whole idea of total cost of ownership. And especially when you think about the life of a building, it's upwards of 50 years. The devices that you employ in those buildings, the maintenance cost of those devices plays a huge role in the cost of ownership. And we have, this comes also in the context of replacing batteries. How do we avoid like the maintenance cost of replacing batteries? And that's we'll have a session that will talk about energy harvesting technologies and how those help with reducing the total cost of ownership. So again, as I mentioned, energy efficiency is a key reason for a lot of innovation in this space. It is something. I mean, it provides a very clear way to measure an ROI of a building solution. And in order to make something energy efficient, it's not just enough to optimize your hardware or software. The optimizations have to stretch from end to end. The entire technology stack needs to be optimized all the way down from your sensors all the way to the cloud side of things. Energy harvesting technologies, we'll talk a little bit in the afternoon. They will have to play a role. If we believe in this whole promise of trillions, or hundreds of billions and trillions of sensors, energy harvesting has to play a role. And it's an emerging area. Only now things started becoming more commercially viable. We'll see some examples of that. Vision, as I mentioned earlier, is a huge area for us, as well as what we see out there in the market with image sensors getting incorporated within appliances, devices, and not just and video doorbells, niche use cases, everything where a particular use case can be augmented with vision. We are seeing the adoption of image sensors, and a lot of it relies on having the ability to do some sort of edge intelligence, edge computing on the image data itself. Even in those cases, power matters. Anytime you have a battery-powered device, it matters even if you don't have a battery-powered device, as the overall, not just from an energy efficiency standpoint, but from a device performance standpoint. A lot of times, more power equals more heat, and you want to reduce that. So I'll stop with my in this section with this particular sort of a schematic of a typical IoT device. As you can see, like if it is a sensing node, you do have sensors like imagers, proximity, touch, inertial sensors, environmental sensors. And then there's some sort of a compute device within compute element within your end device. Key for an IoT device is connectivity. Connectivity is what's enabling a lot of interesting applications as well as business models. Connectivity, of course, comes in wireless and wired flavors. A lot of options for both wired and wireless. A lot of advances have happened on the wireless side of things. And some of the examples of the technologies employed and some of the some of what ON focuses on are all listed there. Obviously, you have this sensing network or sensing nodes that talk to a gateway that sends the data out to a building automation system or a building management system to glean some actionable insights from this data and take the necessary actions. Just have this picture in mind as you go through the various sessions today. We'll talk a lot about the devices themselves, and we'll also cover a little bit on the gateway side of things. And one last thing I want to mention is, most of you are aware, but there are demos set up by our partners and our distributor partners as well in the room next doors. During the breaks and lunch, please go there, check it out. Please talk to some of us who are here. We can help answer any questions you have. So with that, I will turn it over to Brett, who's going to talk about Vision IoT.